Hello and welcome back to the Aeon Drive tournament. They do a lot with 8 bits. I don't know about 2 colors though. Yeah, I don't know, but yeah, you can see that Xbox, PlayStation, Switch. Oh, great for the Switch and PC as well. Yeah, fantastic. So here's Madbronine. We saw Gronius the first time out. Spent about 10 minutes grinding and just try to achieve the best time, just for funsies, just for practice. And that practice is certainly probably very welcome to these players, as I mentioned, because some of them are coming at this completely fresh, and the game itself is brand new. So we're all learning about it as we go, players, casters, viewers alike. But I think starting a little slower. I see a different approach here. There's a little more experimentation going on here than we saw from Gronius from Madbronine.
Yeah, and then that first level, you saw that there was a couple of moments where they were falling a bit, and they used that teleportation dagger to help get themselves back up. There is a wall jump mechanic as well that you're going to see them use quite often, I'm sure. There's also a slide dash that you can go under a lot of attacks and things of that nature. I think the one thing you're going to probably see the least is going to be the sword swipe, maybe the slide dash, but the number one mechanic that is going to be used is that teleportation dagger. That's the thing that's going to get you going the fastest. It is full screen. You're going to be able to go across the screen. Once the dagger is anywhere on the screen, you can teleport to it, but once it is off screen, it'll come back to you, so you can activate a switch with it. If you can reach that switch with the dagger, you can teleport to it. You can go through certain laser obstacles and things of that nature. The dagger is really the featured mechanic that you're going to see the most out of these runners.
Yeah, that is what I really want to see, is that when people get to a really high level of skill at this after a while, the threading of the needle, or threading of the dagger, if you will, where they teleport just before it comes off screen, that's going to be something to behold. And that sword, by the way, the power sword, I believe it's called, but I think you're right. After a little while, once you get past like beginner level speedrunners, I think you're basically never going to see it. They're just going to avoid the enemies.
Yeah, and there's going to be certain obstacles that the sword's just going to be slower for. It's just not going to be worth it whenever there's going to be a way to get through with the dagger. As you saw, there was some breakable ground with the sword, but there's other areas that have teleportation, or rather lasers that you can teleport through, so it's a lot easier to do that. It is a multi-directional dagger as well. It's not just north, south, east, west. It is also diagonal, so you can throw it any direction, including down. So if you are trying to get to the floor faster, you can do that.
Yeah, that's a really big deal right there. The kind of cardinal, ordinal direction stuff. You kind of need that for something like this. It would be a real pity to kind of design such a cool mechanic and then only let you throw it in some of the directions you wanted, but you can see the level of precision there, you know. It's not going to lock in for you. You can, if you take your time, you're going to hit it, but if you want to go fast, you have to be very precise, which is why the skill ceiling on this game, I think, is going to be very high.
And that's also to be said too, again, September 30th, this game comes out. If you're not a speedrunner, if you don't fancy yourself as a speedrunner, honestly, I'm not exactly the greatest speedrunner. This game was a lot of fun. This game is a lot of fun, even casually or pseudo-casually. There really isn't a requirement to do this as fast as possible. There is a little, I'd call it a micro story. There is somewhat of a story. There's some voice-acted lines and things like that. So there's other focuses in the game other than just go fast. This game was definitely #1 thought about for speedrunners, but they didn't leave out the casual fan either.
No, absolutely not. That the main character there, Jacqueline, voiced by Kira Buckland, who you've also heard in Nier Automata, Talking is Hard, and the Ace Attorney series, among other games. I like that one because I like to argue. So great voice acting, great visuals, as you mentioned, and I should know, by the way, you can cancel that sword if you need to, which, if there's one thing speedrunners like, it's the ability to change their minds in a fraction of a second. So when I heard that they included the kind of blade cancellation thing, I thought, okay, they really thought of everything here.
Yeah, it sounds like they watched a lot of speedruns of just other games, older games, and they're like, yeah, that is called a sword cancel. That sounds like something I want in my game. Yes. And then designed around it, and I love it. It's fantastic.
You don't want to be locked into it, you know, this isn't Ubisoft, right? You don't want to start an animation and have to wait for the whole thing to play out. But I like what you said about you don't have to be a real hardcore speedrunner here exactly. You can take your time, that's what the sword is for. You can kill the enemies rather than avoid them if you want. And even if you want to speedrun, the nature of try and start over again and grind and like master one section and then move on to the next, in a sense, even though that's a quote-unquote speedrun by the end of it, it allows you to go at your own pace.
I would argue, too, speaking of like a casual fan, if you're looking into possibly learning a speedrun or learning to speedrun, this game is a good intro to just maybe not even be the game you want to speedrun, but learn speedrun tactics. it's something to possibly even warm up your hands before you do something that is a fighting game or whatever. Like, I think this game has got a lot of applications other than just speedrunning, but this today is about the speed run, about the fastest you can possibly get through there. The dagger mechanic is just phenomenal with the way it works, and we saw it just a few moments ago in the level where Madbronine kind of got below the platform and used that dagger multiple times to keep themselves from falling, and stayed on that platform, which is just so cool to me that it's that smooth to be able to use it over and over again without fail.
I was playing this a little the other day, same as you, and I don't know, tell me if this is your experience at all, but at first I was like a little overwhelmed, you know, like, wow, you move so fast when you throw that dagger. The first time I wasn't even sure what I'd done. How did I get over there? You know, that kind of thing. But then, after about 10 or 20 minutes, I started to go, okay, I'm starting to feel comfortable with this, and I could feel my brain rewiring in real time and starting to keep up and look at the spot I was going to teleport to just before I went there, right? Actually keeping up with the pace. And I imagine if you play it more, you're only going to get better and better at that.
I did have a very similar experience where I was overwhelmed by the amount of control I had over the character, and I was that never really scares me as much as overwhelms me, because I like having control of my character. I like my character doing what I tell them to do. So I never felt like my character did something completely opposite of like, hey, I said go right, you went left, why? I never felt like I didn't know what was happening completely, and it is smooth. It is very, you can see how smooth it is, not just because these are really good runners. We said this last match, 4,000 people entered this tournament, top 64 made it. So we had a lot of people in this tournament start, and we're looking at the best of the best, making their way, trying to get into 32 and on, and it's impressive. It's impressive to see how smooth this character goes. It's very reminiscent of Celeste. It's very reminiscent of how quick and easy the skill set is to pick up, but how hard it is to master.
That's it, right? I mean, it'll learn to lifetime to master. That's what every game is kind of going for there. As gamers, we've all had that moment where you die and you think, I pressed the button, I did, and let's be honest, sometimes we didn't. But sometimes we did, or sometimes we pressed a little late, or sometimes the input response control wasn't quite there, maybe a few milliseconds off what we've come to expect. But for a game like this, you can't have that. And you're right, it's very responsive, and it can be a little intimidating at first when you realize how much control you have over your character. But in the end, that's what you want, right? You want it to reflect what you're going to do. You want to have control over it, and this game has just clearly prioritized that, and it really shows. Look at the fluidity of this move.
Yeah, and this level is one of the levels that I actually spent a lot of time on my personal little playthrough of just learning the controls and things of that nature. I was trying to do what you're seeing MB9 trying to do here. Get over those spikes and throw the dagger past the spikes and then fall and teleport to it. It is tight. That is a very tight jump because you can only jump so high. So it's not exactly something that... It's... The design of these levels is so cool because you can tell they really did think about where they were letting you go, and they don't really have the idea of, we don't want you to go there. There is no, we don't want you to go there. It is...
But we want to make it tough sometimes.
We want you to try it all the time. If you think you can get there, try it. We want you to.
Yes, and I like that. It's not, I could see a lesser developer throwing up their hands and going, procedural generation, good enough. And it's like, no. Not with this level of control, not with this level of precision, not with this speed. You need handcrafted. And I think, if I recall right, the game, again, released September 30th, it'll be 5 days from now. I think 100 handcrafted levels, I think I saw.
That is phenomenal.
That's a
lot of care. A lot of care. And there it is. They just got it right there on the screen. Pixels away from those spikes. Any further to the right, they probably would have died. And we're getting down to the last like 25 seconds here of MB9 knocking this out. I do want to go ahead and say again, at the very end, you see around top 10 and friends, you have the ability to look at multiple different levels of speeds that each level was ran. So there's going to be a lot of focus on speed. But again, for the casual player, please don't be intimidated. Wishlist this. Put it on your Steam wishlist. Be ready to buy it for your favorite console. It's definitely going to be a lot of fun. We're going to be back, though. We're going to have MB9 going against Grondius coming up for that top 32 match 1. And this is going to be a lot more time on the clock. So we'll be right back, me and Warning Track. Please stick around for some more hype Aeon Drive. Tournament.